Draw Dragon Zoomers. And I'm going to put on some theme music like this. Maybe. Maybe. Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Ross, and I'm a painting superstar from television from a long time ago. But Gio brought me back as a puppet for Draw Dragon, and I'm so glad he did because I love to paint and I love drawing happy, fun stuff like dragons and mountains and stuff. And you're painting today. That's so great. So I'll be in charge on doing all the puppet stuff down here. Draw Dragon has a website, drawdragon.org, and it's going to be a great time. I can't wait. Get your brushes. Here we go. Yeah, we have an unofficial sponsorship. Unofficial meaning he doesn't actually know about it. But Bob Ross, according to my puppet imaginary land, is my best friend, and he likes my puppet, my drawing show. And so we're going to paint today. I told the early risers, the early dragon drawers, everything that we need today, because today is watercolor workshop day. So if you don't have watercolors, don't worry about it. Get some crayons or some colored pencils. If you got watercolor markers like Lucas does, let's try that out. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but we're going to figure it out together. Here's my watercolors. It's just an old plastic tray from like an all-in-one art bin that the kids got for Christmas, probably like 5 years ago. I have one brush. I like a bigger brush that comes to a point because then I can do thin and thick, okay? If you don't have watercolor paper, see if you can find some heavy cardstock. Any type of heavy cardstock will be better than just regular paper, or like paint on the back of a box or something. You got to have something that has some substance to it. Sorry, Gabriel. Hope you can find something to paint on. Otherwise, just do regular paper, colored pencils. A lot of the same techniques apply for colored pencils as for watercolors. Okay. So brush, paints, you're gonna need a cup of water. Yeah, it's watercolor. Paper towels, really, really important, okay? And I'm gonna show you down here, we're gonna go to the painting cam today. It's not drawing cam today, it's painting cam. Dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee. Okay, I put a little piece of tape at the corner of my page to hold it in place because I'm gonna be painting with water, and the water is going to make the page try and move around on me. I don't want it to move around. I'm going to put everything down here on the camera so you can see what I'm doing, okay? I'm going to do my little practice. We're doing some watercolor or color practice first. I'm going to be talking about it like with watercolors. If you're doing it with color pencils or crayons, same deal, okay? Here's what we're going to do first. I have a brush. This is my paper towel. I'm going to do so much dabbing over here. This is where I'm going to get all the extra water off. I'm going to dry out my brush, which is really important. And I'm going to make sure that I've got paint on there. That's what this is for. All right. My cup is just off the camera. Maybe I can get there as the edge of my cup there so you can see what I'm dipping. And I'm going to do this little lavender color. We're just going to pick one color. Pick one kind of darker color to start with. All right. Because here's what we need to figure out. The main thing we need to figure out when we're using watercolors is how much water to how much paint to get what on our piece of paper. So I'm going to get some water and I'm going to just dip it all over in this little tray of purple paint. And I'm going to roll my brush around because I want it to be covered with paint. The darker the color, the less water, okay? If you want a really light color, then you got to use more water. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, there's not very much water pulled up in here, and I just keep going in. I just keep digging in. I'm looking for a really dark purple. Let's see if I can get it. I'm going to make a little box over here with dark purple. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I got one. Try and make a little box. If you have a ton of water on there, see how the water is pooling on my paper? It's because this paper doesn't absorb the water really well. I am not using really great watercolor paper. So what I'm going to do, I'm dabbing my brush off on my, you're going to see me do this all the time. I'm getting all the extra water and paint off. And now watch this. When I come back, look at all that paint that's going to just come right up. I don't want it to come right up. But if you have too much paint that's pooling up all the time, it just leaves weird little shapes that you don't necessarily want in your painting. Okay, so I'm just gonna I just want a box of color. That's what I got from my first round. Okay, maybe I can get a little more color in there if I come back with a drier brush. Now my brush is it's a little bit damp, but it's not like soaked. I can come back and get just color and get a little bit more dark purple in there. I want to get as dark of a purple as I can. Okay, here are things to watch out for, you guys. This is the #1 danger of watercolor. I have a ton of water on my brush. I dip into the water again because I love dipping into water. And then I dip in here, and then you come over here and you got a big puddle. You see how it's just a big puddle? This always happens when you're watercoloring. Don't worry about it. It's gonna happen. If this is happening to you, it means you've got too much water. So you take your brush, you dry it off really good on your paper towel, and then you bring it back and you use it like a sponge. It's like, that's the sound that it's making. If you put your ear up really close, you can hear it. And you suck up all of that water. Okay? You can't erase it totally, but you can get most of it out. All right? Because that is going to happen all the time. And if you end up getting just giant pools, then you're not going to be able to paint anything, because once you get a pool of water on there, it takes forever to dry. And then if anything else touches it, the water just starts going crazy and your colors get all crazy, and it's no fun for anybody. So what we're trying to get the perfect amount of water to the perfect amount of color. Okay. That was my dark purple. I'm going to come back over here to my paint. I'm going to dip in again. But this time, I'm not going to soak it around and whirl it around quite so much. I'm going to try and get a little bit of that extra water off. And I'm going to try and get a little bit lighter. This is a lot lighter. I want a little more paint than that. Ooh, that's better. So now I'm a little bit lighter on my purple. I think I still need more paint, less water. If you're using these types of watercolors like I am, it's really hard to get big, dark, pure colors. It's really nice to get really light colors, and you'll see that when we do our little painting piece. Okay, so I'm going a little bit lighter now. It's going to take a while to dry. And now I'm going to do another box that's even lighter. So I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to go across the outside of my little tray here. And not too much water, but I got to find that perfect place where I'm going even lighter. Did you guys see how every time I like dipped my toe in the pool? I was like, what's that like? Oop, nope, not quite. Not quite. Okay. Darker, lighter, lighter again. Aaron, are we drawing? We can draw a little bit, but we're doing. Are we drawing? I'm Annalise. Remember me? Yes. Well, I guess that sort of makes sense, but not a lot. Today, I tried to give you guys a warning during the week. Holy cow, look at this chat. I am just trying to have some nice painting time over here. We'll do a little drawing. We're gonna do a little landscape, but today we're gonna just have some fun with our watercolors. If you don't have watercolors, you can do this same thing with your colored pencils, trying to get different values with the same colored pencil. You want darker, like 3 layers probably with colored pencils, 2 layers, 1 layer, and then super, super light at the end. I can barely even see it. But it does make a difference. Even if I'm just using like purple colored water, it makes a difference. Okay. So just trying to figure out, oh, you guys can't even see what's going on there. Trust me, it's there. What if I turn off the light? Yeah, you can see it there. Now, what do we do with this? Well, here's what we can do with this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to get my darkest purple. I'm going to make a little hill. The top of my hill is where I start, and now I'm going to bring it down. And as you paint with any paint, but as you paint with watercolors, as you paint, you're going to get lighter and lighter because you're going to be using all the pigment in your brush. Okay, so I'm going to make a little mound. Now I'm going to dip a teeny bit in my water. I'm going to come back. I'm going to make another mound back here. It's going to be lighter, maybe too light. Get a little more paint in there. A little more paint in there. on the edge, and then it's going to get lighter and lighter as I go down. I'm going to dry off my brush a little bit, get some of that paint out, and I'm just going to pull this stuff that I already have down. Now I got a little mountain. And I'll put another little one behind it where I'm going to come into my purple, make it nice and dark on the top. Top is dark, not quite dark enough. Ooh, there we go. I'm just going to come down, and as I come down, I'm going to go dry off my brush now, get some of that extra paint off. And with the water and paint that's already on there, I'm going to start pulling it down so that it's fading out as I come down. And now I have my little landscape trick where the top is dark and I fade out towards the bottom. And I'm just using the same color every time. But if I just use the same color every time, I can fade it off into nothingness back here. And I have my little set of rolling hills. Yes. Yes, there will be a dragon. There will be a dragon and everything, you guys, I promise. This is my little practice page because I want you guys to see what I'm doing with my watercolors. I'm going to go over to the next page and I'm going to do some watercoloring. We'll do a quick pencil and we're going to watercolor over it. And when we do that, these are all techniques that I'm going to be using. And what's going to happen, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show you guys, this is what's going to happen. You're painting. You've got a bunch of purple on there. You're like, oh, it's not enough purple. So you keep going back and you dip in the water because you just think, yeah, wouldn't that be cool? And you end up with a big pool of purple. You know, you're like, oh, and it's all watery. And then maybe the part next to it is supposed to be this really cool little red line. So you come into your red and you go, oh, I'm going to make a little red line that's going to go right here. And then that happens. Oh, no, a big red splotch that just keeps spreading everywhere. What are you going to do? Well, you should have waited for this to dry. We should not have used that much water, but this is going to happen. It's going to happen. And when it does, you get a paper towel. You rip off a little piece of your paper towel, dry paper towel, and you come in and you go dab, 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 and you dab it up. Don't panic. Don't panic. You're not going to ruin anything. Okay? In fact, if you have too much water on your paper, you can dab up the whole thing. All right, and then just start fresh. But these paper towels are really important. They keep our desks clean and they help us fix our mistakes. Okay, so this piece of paper was my little practice piece of paper. If you guys only have one piece of paper, leave that there. And for your next piece, just do it in this little box here. Give yourself a little frame to work in. I'm going to actually grab another fresh sheet so that you can see what I'm doing and have it be nice and big. If you don't have enough room, then just do it on the same sheet. Okay, so here I got my fresh piece of paper. I'm going to go for 4 pieces of tape, 1 in each corner. And yes, if you guys want to do a dragon, we're going to do a dragon. It's going to be a lot like the mountain dragon that we did when we were doing our scenery, because landscape is so fun with watercolors. All right, so my paints, same paints. Amaya and Jonah, you guys have a question. Can you ask it in the chat? Is that possible? I am looking at the chat. I'm putting all of those little materials just off the side of my paper so that I can use my paper here. Okay. Oh, never mind. Okay. All right. Now I got a pencil. When I start a painting, I always start with pencil. Hey, this is really important, actually. This is my cup for drinking because sometimes I get thirsty. This is the cup that has my dirty paint water in it. You guys pay attention when you're painting because they're really, I put them right next to each other and I just went to go take a sip of water. And this, if you're not really paying attention, not good. Okay, drinking water is going to be on the left. Painting water is going to be on the right. If you guys see me do this to this side, I need help. In the chat, say, Geo, don't do it. Okay. All right, you turkeys, here we go. I'm going to start with I'm going to go super light with my pencil so that when you put paints over the top of it, when we put paints over the top of it, it'll be, the paint will show up, not the pencil. But because my computer doesn't show anything unless I go dark, I'm going to go dark. I'm going to make a horizon line. This is the horizon. It was too low, so I had to make it higher. And there's a glare. How about that glare, everybody? I'm going to put giant craggy mountains in the back. Big old craggy mountains. And they're just kind of, my whole picture is going to kind of fade off on the edges, okay? It's all fading off on the edges. Maybe it was like too high, actually. So I don't mind. Yeah. Look. Sometimes I like to erase things. That's why I work in pencil. All that nonsense of the horizon line being too low, but it was too high. Who knew? Who could have imagined such a thing? Maybe like in the back, there's like an even taller, craggier mountain. Way, way in the back. So far in the back, you guys. Here's a range of mountains. And now in front of it, I'm just going to do little rolling. These are the foothills. The foothills. Okay, and then maybe here, maybe like one more little row of hills and stuff, right down to here. And now down here will be all fields, rolling green fields, okay? Doesn't really matter what's going to be down there. This last line of lumpy things is going to be my last line of hills. And then, just like we had done with our, when we were doing the mountain dragon, I'm going to have a big old cliff jutting out, kind of coming out to about halfway on my page, and it's going to kind of go off to nowhere. Okay? These are all just vague shapes, and I would never do it this dark. Oh my gosh, the glare. The glare. Let's just go super dark so you can at least see what I'm doing. I apologize. Okay. Row of craggy mountains. I would go very light with my pencil. If I was you guys, I'd be so light with my pencil. I might not even do a pencil thing. I might just start with paints. But to show you what we're up to, here's that row of mountains. Another row of mountains, little foothills. And then the hills of the grassy meadow will start right about there. And then in front of us is this big, craggy promontory where dragons are wont to go prancing. A rock dragon? You can, but the dragon's going to be very, very tiny. This is going to be a landscape with dragon. So if you guys want to do a dragon of any style, like always, knock yourselves out figuratively. Okay? I'm going to put my dragon right in here. Dragon on a promontory, spreading its wings. Okay, it's just going to be the silhouette. This is going to be a morning dragon pose. So when I'm doing a silhouette of a dragon, let me show you big, and then I'll show you small. See if I can do this. Improve any glare status? No, we'll see. Okay, here's my silhouette that I'm going to draw in miniature. The noble dragon beak. Horns, however you want to draw the horns. They could be like little twisty horns coming up. Okay. There's the back horn. Maybe like a little slant down for where the eye is going to be. Maybe a little bump where the nostril is going to be. This is all going to be silhouette. Okay. The neck coming down. The noble shoulder of this side, the noble shoulder of that side. Okay. And let's see, maybe out like swooping up like that. And this one will be swooping away and up, so it'll be like this. It looks like it's really closer, but when you're dealing with distance and perspective, things get weird. Okay, Here's going to be our outspread wings attaching to body. Here's going to be some outstretched wings attaching to body. And the body will be here with a tail that'll come off here and a little lump for a leg here. Okay. Something like this. Something like this is what I'm going to do teeny tiny way out here on the edge of my mountain. Coming up for the eye, maybe a little bump for the nose, horns, horns. This is going to be too dark. It'll be too dark for painting if I do it so dark with my pencil. So you're going to have to just trust me that the basic shape that I drew there on that piece of paper is what I'm basically going to attempt here. Okay, here's a body that's coming back onto this precipice, and here's a tail coming down. And a little bump. You know what? This will be more dramatic if it looks like this is like way, way, way like cliffier. So I'm just going to have this come down steep, steep and stark. And then this will just disappear into nothingness. Okay. Okay, glare. Glare. Dear Glare, here's a bedtime story. Once upon a time, there was a man, and all he wanted to do was show people drawings and paintings. But then the glare came and was evil. Oh, the glare hates my story. Ow, it's burning. It burns. Oh, stop. Didn't work, Aaron. It was a good idea, but it didn't work. Okay, you guys, it's time for some watercolors. I'm going to make mine a sunrise setting. So sunrise, I'm going to start with a gold. These mountains are a no paint zone. My sunrise is going to happen starting at the horizon going up. It's going to be gold at the horizon, and I'm going to fade it out going up. So I'm going to get a deep gold color happening. And if you guys are doing colored pencils or crayons or anything else, that's totally fine. Starting with a deep gold and going up. So I'm going to take that while I still have this nice rich color. I'm going to go all the way across everywhere along the bottom of that horizon where I can get my deep color in there. Even going from this side to this side, it got less bold. And now with a little bit of water, getting a little bit of the extra paint and water off of my brush, just a little bit to be able to spread it around. I'm not going to touch anything down here or I'm going to lose that big bright boldness. So I'm going to take what I got and just fade it on up with my brush. So I go to the edge and I'm just going up with it. Sunset light is redder, usually. A little bit redder and more purples and pinks. Sunrise light is this beautiful yellow gold usually. Okay. And so this is a way to kind of like tell whoever's looking at this painting what time of day it is. Ooh, nice. Cousin trip. Going to see some people. That's awesome. Someone says in the chat they're going to Angels Camp to see their cousin. Angels Camp is a very nice place. On the way to Yosemite. Okay, so there's my, and this is a nice way to do a blend where you start with your dark color down there and you can kind of fade it out as you go up. I'm going to let that dry before I do anything else to the sky. Okay, not touching anything else in that sky until it has dried. Here's the trick. Here's a really tricky thing, y'all. All of these deep, dark, colorful places are still wet with paint, but I'm going in. I'm going in. I'm going to take the softest blue that I can find. I don't want any red in it at all. I'm going to find the coldest blue color that I can find. Okay, a light blue. I'm going to get light blue, and I want it just, I don't want too much water on my brush. If I have too much water on my brush, it's going to jump into the sky, and it might do that. You guys watch. I'm going to be standing by with my emergency dabber, just in case my mountains try and jump into the sky. which they're going to do. They're going to do it. From the way that the glare is behaving today, I just have a feeling that I'm not going to win. For these mountains, I'm going to start at the tip with my coldest blue. This is the farthest back mountain. So it'll be the coldest color and it'll be the lightest. Okay, so I'm going to start at the tip and I'm going to come down until it disappears into nothingness down here. Okay, so even here, there's too much paint. I don't want to bring that much paint down. So as soon as I get the color that I want here, I stop painting, clean up my brush. It's just damp now. And with that dampness, I'm going to come back to that color and take that color and start fading it around so that I get the color stops right where I want it to, and I don't end up too dark down at the bottom. Now, here's something that we didn't actually do. Let me show you. I'm going to blend color. I'm going to blend colors right on my watercolor palette here. This is my coldest blue. That's what I started with. I want a little bit of this blue because this blue has a little bit more red in it. It's getting closer to purple. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit of that for this next row of mountains. And this is going to be darker. See how much darker it is than that one? Might actually be too dark. It might actually be too dark. So I'm going to go from the tips and fade it down. Come back, pick up a little bit more color. Start at the tips, bring it down. A little more color, starting at the tips, bringing it down, starting at the tips, bring it down. I have enough water and color on the page right now to be able to do the color fade that I want. So I stopped right there. I dipped my brush in the water and I got as much water and paint off of it as I could. And now I'm coming back with maybe not quite enough. And now I had to re-wet a little bit of this to get it to work out, but now it's working for me. And now I'm able to fade it out down as it comes down the mountain. And it's okay if these really light colors get into places that you want to put something else later on. Okay. I needed a little bit more water and paint. It was getting too dry. Watercolors make you work pretty fast because they dry up, and as soon as they're dry, they create pretty stark lines. See this little line here? I'm trying to get rid of that little line because I wanted it to blend. I just had to work for it there. I had to work the water in. Okay. I'm putting a little bit more color on there because some of these blended out just a little too soon. So there we go. Now I got a little bit more color on those back mountains, but I still have a nice dark top ridge, which I like. Now I'm coming into my foothills, and my foothills are going to get even more purple. So I'm starting now with that darker blue, and I'm going to add some purple to it. And now as my colors are warming up, as they're getting closer to me, stop at the wing wall. This color is dark enough that if I paint into my dragon silhouette, it's going to mess things up. Okay. I don't want to mess things up. You guys trying to mess things up? Here's the top of my foothills. Mess things up. That's all that painting really is. It's just one big long mess up. And then hopefully by the end of it, you've like calmed it. I'm doing the exact same thing where I'm just trying to use the paints that I've already got on there to fade it out as I come down. But I want it to be, I don't want that line. See, this is why you gotta work fast. Okay, so now I have my blue and lavender hills fading towards me. I can zoom in on the dragon, but I'm going to show you the dragon. When I do the silhouette for the dragon, you'll see what I'm doing. This was my zoomed in dragon silhouette. The noble eyebrow, the nostril, curving horns. The head is tilted. It's looking away from me, but I can still see the back horn on this side of the horn that's facing me. Back wing, etc., etc. Okay, I've got another set of hills here. This set of hills, I'm gonna go purple, purple, blue. This is gonna be my darkest yet. And this, we should start being able to see a little bit of detail on this row of hills. This row of hills, you'd be able to catch, oh, there's a little ridge line in there. Maybe there's some trees here or there. So maybe I'll come back in. We haven't done any, maybe I'll put a little bit of blue in there. Too much water. Look at those pools. Oh, get out of there. Get some blue up in there. So I got purples and blues going on. And I'm doing all this background stuff first before I come up to the front. And now I'm coming into this field right here. Now I got into my hills. So I'm going to go to a very light green that I have on my palette here. Kind of a greenish yellow. Kind of a sickly green. If I wanted to draw a face that was like sick, this is the color green I would use. You know, you're going to be limited by your whatever tools you've got at hand. All right. I'm going to try and get it to go darker, but it looks like this green is not going to cooperate. So I'm just going to get it on the page here as much as I can to get a nice little base color of green all the way down. And then it'll kind of fade out to white here. I don't want to go all the way to the edge, but I do need that green to show up over here too, to show you, my viewer, that it continues on this other side. Okay. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't like that color green. That's just the one that was on my palette. Luckily, I've got Emmy's paints here, and she's got a green on hers. I'm going to try some of that green. How's this green? This green looks nicer. Looks more like a green. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Let's get some hills in there. So I'm just going to do some little swoopy, strokey shapes, and this green is going to blend with the light green underneath it, and I'll end up with some little hill shapes. I'm going to come right up. I'm going to leave the back line is always going to be the lightest. It's going to get darker as I come forward. Need a little more water on my brush. Trying to really get as much of that green paint as I can. So I'm like digging in here. Look at me digging in. Oh, yes. There we have it. Okay. Just as I faded off into nothing. Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. You can keep messing with your hillside if you guys want to put more. Bye, Lily. If you guys want to keep putting stuff in your hills like dark greens or really anything, keep doing it. Keep going. For this hill, for this mountainside, I'm going to need browns and blacks. Now, this palette doesn't have any of those. It came as a set, and they put all the browns and the blacks on this one. So I'm going to get this one. I'll get a little bit of this brown. I'm just going to do the whole thing here. Now, what I'm going to do here, this is really fun. This is where watercolors are really fun. See how much water I've got on the page here? I got this brown color that's just sitting here, and I got a bunch of water. And this water is I'm going to make it do fun things for me. So I'm going to take some of this other brown. I'm just going to do like a little blotch. See what kind of shapes it makes in the water. If you put where you've got wet paint, these things will blend together in these really beautiful ways. And that this is one of the places where you can really just kind of let the watercolors do what they want to do. Once you get the paint on the page, it's going to move around a little bit on its own. But this is why the watercolor paper is so nice, because regular paper can't handle this much water and paint. I've got some nice grays over here, so I'm going to get some grays happening. I think I'm going to come over this now that I've got like this nice brown blackish thing happening. We're going to come over it with some purple. And I just want there to be enough other colors here to give it a texture. I don't want it to look flat. Everything back here is very flat. So this, I want to look like it's got some things happening. So I'm going to move over and pick up some purple. Ooh, and probably some reds too. Now that we're close to things, we should be able to see some different tones in it. Okay. So I know it's a brown mountain. Shoot, you can put purple in there if you want. We've got a lot of purple in the other mountains. How about some red? What's a red look like when I throw the red in there? I bet it'll be cool. I just bet. It is cool. I like it. I'm going to put more of it in, especially up front here. And it's not totally red because it's blending with the brown and the grays and the blacks and all the other stuff that I already put in there. Put some of this gold in there. Ooh, yeah. Well, that's getting to be a real nice little piece of mountain. This is when, if you just really like mixing colors, this is another total danger of watercolor. If you just keep mixing when it's still wet, it all runs together and you'll never actually know what you were doing or if it was good or not, because it's going to end up being a big poopy mess on your piece of paper. Yes. Nico asked if the green was darker at the bottom. Yes. So everything is going to get lighter towards the horizon. These mountains get lighter towards the horizon. Your foreground is going to get lighter towards the horizon. So that's why I saved that dark green for right in front. And you guys, this is like painting with watercolor, painting with anything, drawing anything. It's hard. It takes a long time of doing the same thing over and over and over again, because the only way you're going to figure out your brush, the only way you're going to figure out your paints or the paper that you're working on is by doing it a ton, like a ton. How much do you think that means? Double that. It's more than that. it's just nonstop experimenting. Speaking of nonstop experimenting, I want to do something with the sky. In the morning, the sky is gold where the sun's coming up, but it's still cold blue at the top, okay? So I had to wait until my gold was dry because I don't want it to get too green. And if you blend blue with yellow, it just becomes super green. But now that I've got the gold to be dry, I can fade my blue down into it. And now I've got a really nice, what I like. I like it. A dawn sky. I didn't like it just fading up into nothingness. That didn't make sense. That's not what the dawn sky looks like. So I'm coming in with the coldest, lightest blue that I have, and I'm blending it down into nothing as it comes down to meet that dark gold of the sun coming up. Oh. That's just the sound that it makes sometimes. That wasn't even me. It was just the sound of painting. Okay, I am going to come in and do the silhouette of my dragon. I don't think I want to do solid black. I think what I want to do for this dragon is going to be shades of red. Okay, so maybe this is a red dragon. Just woke up early, stretching its wings out on this little cliff. So if it's a red dragon, I'm going to tone it down here with all of this orangey gold. Okay. Now look, I've never painted the silhouette of a red dragon at sunrise before. I'm just flying blind here. I have done a lot of watercolor painting, so I'm hoping that that's all going to work out. But this is just like, you just got to think about, well, what would work here? What I do know is that any time that I want to paint anything, I have to think of what the lightest color would be and start with a layer of that. Okay, so I started with a layer of this gold because once the red comes on, this is going to get totally buried. That's really important with watercolors. You got to start with the lightest color that you want. And if you want any areas to be white, you got to just make sure you don't paint in them at all. And then you got to build it up a little bit at a time. And right now, some people, like the people that are professional and are using this at their desks all the time, they have a hair dryer right next to them. So they can go, whoa. And then they dry off the part so they don't have to wait at all. I have to wait for this to dry. So while I wait for that to dry, I'm going to take some orange. Look, I'm not saying you guys should follow me and you should do what I do. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I've made that very clear. Less orange, a little bit more water. I'm just going to put some like little orangey shadows down here on my field. On these fields that needs a little more texture. And the orange on the green is going to be a really nice like brownish shadowy color. So I'm just putting a little bit of that in, just dabbing it around. Really, it's kind of willy-nilly. I'd like to pretend like I'm making really informed decisions, but I'm not. I'm going to come back here on my dragon. And I'm going to go to this deep crimson red, okay? I'm going to get as much paint as I can get on there. Hopefully not too much water, because my brush is already pretty well soaked. And I'm going to come up here. And I'm just going to go over all of that gold stuff. But maybe if I miss a spot, now instead of it being white and being weird, if I miss a spot, it's going to show up gold. So maybe like, see how I'm going to leave some little tips of stuff gold. If I came in here with a brush that had way too much paint on it, this would be so frustrating, because then the red would just be spilling out everywhere and it would be too faint and it wouldn't look like anything. And it'd be really frustrating. And then I'd be like, oh, I guess I better paint for like 2 hours every day so that this doesn't happen again. So there's my little red dragon. Now, once this dries, I'm going to come in with a deep, dark purple gray shadow. And that's going to be on the back side of everything. Will that look good? Bye, Logan. Will it look good? I don't know. It might not look good. You know what, though? Because it's up here on the sunrise, there would be. Let's try this. I'm feeling dangerous. It's 10:45 in the morning on Friday, and I'm feeling dangerous. I'm getting a damp brush. I didn't like soak it. It's just damp, and I'm getting my wet brush in here, and I'm gonna take this dark gray. That's too much. That's too much. It's gonna streak into everything. I want to get a little shadow coming away from my dragon. Maybe it'll be like, maybe I'll put a shadow like this is where the wing shadow would be. Maybe there's a little shadow that's underneath the tail as it comes back. Do I like that? Not sure. I think it's too much gray. Not a huge fan. So I'm going to come back in with my paper towel eraser, and I'm going to dab it up. It's not going to dab up everything. You're still going to see it, but I'll at least make my mistake less obvious. And maybe it'll make it look even cooler. Sometimes you get really lucky as I try and dab it up. Ooh, see, now it's not so dark. Now it's nice and faint, except for in a couple spots. That's great. Oh, thank you, paper towel eraser. All right, now with a little bit of purple, I got 2 palettes going here. Let me turn them around so you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm getting some gray and some purple. I don't like using just black and gray. It ends up being a really dead color on my page. But if I can get a little color in there. So this is gray with some purple. And I'm going to go, the back of this dragon is going to be in the shadows here. Going all the way back along the top. And maybe underneath those wings is going to be in shadow. And up here And then what I'm going to do is right here, see how I stopped my shadow? Oh, you can't because this is a teeny tiny screen. If I zoom in, maybe you can see. Zooming in. Okay, it looks like a big blur, but trust me, this dark blur, I stopped right at the head and I left the red and orange blur alone as it moved forward. And that'll make it look like the sun is hitting the head and the head is shading this rest of the body back here, okay? Because I just wanted this to be basically like a silhouette. It's getting to be a little more complicated than that, and that's fine. This is a nice little lavender gray that I've got for the shadow on my dragon. Bye, lazy. I have to GI. I think that means go. I'm going to put a few dark shadows underneath my cliff. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to combine my gray with some purple. Maybe put some more little doohickeys up here, like there's some rocks and debris. Remember, the light's coming from over here, so any shadow is the back side of whatever it is that I'm looking at. So if there's a big rock up here, it would be, there's my shadow. Okay. And then I would put my brush away. Yes, Amaya, you will please show us your dragon. We're going to have our show and tell time here in a minute. I'm done with the coloring part of what I would want to do. And so what I do then is then you can take your tape off and then you can sign it because this is a painting. And when you do a painting, it's a lot different than a drawing. I think the biggest difference for me, this is actually a bummer about the paint. Check this out. This is going to bum me out. What? What happened to the sky up there in the corner? Those are the hazards. I usually like to stop the paint like I did over here, where before it gets to the place that I taped, but I wasn't paying attention. The reason why, one of the reasons why I think painting is so wonderful is because when you see a painting that somebody's done, it means that they risked it all, folks. Because especially with watercolors, once it's on there, you're not going back. When you see great drawings, that's fun, and drawing well is such a challenge anyway. But at least when you're drawing, we have our pencils and we have our erasers. When you're in the world of painting, you got to be fearless. You just got to remember that, hey, I can do this again. If I did it once, I can do it again, and the next time I do it, I'll do it better. But when you guys are painting, number one rule of painting: do not be afraid of your paints. I'm going to have to turn the lights on in here. You can't be afraid of your paint. You guys, I have literally had the same piece of work on my drawing desk for weeks because I'm too scared to do the next step because I don't want to ruin it. That is the worst thing ever. That is just a waste of time. I say ruin it, and then take the next 2 weeks to do it better the next time. It's a better way to live. Every time, if you're looking at a piece of work and you're like, oh, I don't want to mess it up, there's so many different ways that you can, there's ways that you can test things out so that you can make sure that your next step will be a good step. Take another little piece of paper and do little things, do little practice experiments, but don't be afraid of paint. It's so fun. And the only way that you figure out how to work it is by ruining 100,000 really, really cool drawings that you did with paint. Then just do it. Make them terrible and do it boldly. And then the next one, they just keep getting better. But if you practice timidly, you never get better. I will tell you that. That's for music and for art. If you are always like, I don't want to, I shouldn't. Nope. You don't get the rewards. They just stop. Everything just stops at that point. All right, so here's my little painting. I like it. It's my little sunrise dragon. It's adorable. You guys, some people do mixed media. If you've already done this and you want to come back and like put marker pen on it or colored pencil on top of the paints, go for it. Do whatever. It'd be awesome. I'm going to go ahead and roll my Draw Dragon credits. And I should go back though to this camera so that Bob Ross can see our happy little painting. Oh my goodness. You guys, the glare got me one last time. That one hurt. That one hurt. Not gonna lie. Here we go. Well, I really enjoyed that today. Look at those beautiful mountains with the misted bottoms and the green fields and a dragon. Oh, that is just fantastic. I hope you guys had a good time painting today. Draw a Dragon will be back to drawing on Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning for its final week. Yes, it's final week. Hey, Bob, let me get in there. Oh, hi, Gio. Is that you? Oh, sorry. Forgot I was wearing my Stormtrooper helmet. Hey, everybody. Next week is going to be the final 5-day run of Draw a Dragon. And then we're going to go into the summer and we're going to figure out what to do with Draw a Dragon and our schedule. So please do check in. You can send me an email, gio@drawadragon.org. Check in on Facebook. Find a way to get in touch. I'd love to know what you guys would like to continue, if anything wants to continue. So let's talk about it. We'll talk about it next week too. Ah, that was fun, Bob. We painted. Ah, no, Gio, I'm so proud of you. One of these days you'll paint and drink tea. Never! Coffee forever! Tea! Coffee forever! Tea! Ah!